And welcome into SportsZone All Access here on this Monday, October the 6th. And I may be by myself today, and so the conversation in-house may not be as deep as it normally is. However, we've got a lot of good sound coming up for you. We'll have reaction from SDSU, USD, and Augustana, the big winners this weekend. We'll also have a great one-on-one sit-down interview with head coach of the Augustana hockey team, Garrett Raboin. They had their first exhibition game last week, and now they're looking to get the season underway this week. So we'll talk with him coming up in just a little bit. But first, we start with, I think, the top game in our area over the weekend. It was certainly the closest, and it was certainly one that had a lot of attention on it. USF and Augustana, and USF dominated this thing for really 3 quarters. They led 14-3 at halftime, 28-10 at the end of the third quarter. Right at the end of the third quarter, they had a chance to punch it in. They were 1 foot short of scoring another touchdown, which would have then given them 35 points in the game. They would have gone up 35-10, and Augustana responds. They go on a heater, 19 fourth quarter points, including that touchdown right there to Braylon Blunt, a 16-yard touchdown from Richard Lucero Jr. They'd kick a 52-yard field goal with the win. Going with the win was key in this. We'll talk about that in a minute. Then this dime from Lucero Jr. to Isaiah Huber, a touchdown. That would have tied up the game, but they didn't want to tie it. They wanted to go for 2, and the former Brandon Valley standout, Sam Skolton, puts the 2 on the board. USF unable to answer. That was with 1:18 to go as Augustana makes the stop and wins the game. And there's so many headlines in this game, so many things to talk about in this game. Obviously, the big one being right there. That's Augustana's Grady Sherman, a Viborg, South Dakota native, and the whole team now celebrating with the key to the city. It's their 3rd straight time winning it. The series for the key is now 8-5. But Richard Lucero Jr., a true freshman quarterback, having to replace maybe one of the best quarterbacks in the country in Gunnar Hensley, who went down injured last week, out for the season. Lucero Jr. stepped in, and he had a game, 17 of 28, 231, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. And the true freshman was a huge reason why the Vikings are hoisting the key for the 3rd straight year.
This was my first time in this game, so it was a lot of question marks going into it. Like, what is the environment really like? Does it really mean this much to the city? And it does. Like, my teammates did a great job, and the coaches really prioritized that, hey, this is a good game for me to be able to show the city what we can do.
Yeah, great game for him to show the city what he could do, coming out and making a statement win right away for the Augustana Vikings. And, USF did dominate this thing through 3 quarters, and there were 2 defensive stops that were gigantic, and 2 of them that, if without them, USF probably wins the game. At the end of the third quarter, USF 4th and goal at the 2. They're going to kick a field goal that'll make it 31-10. Instead, it's offsides. It got blocked. It was an offsides and a block. And so now it's 4th and goal at the 1. And USF says, hey, we're 1 yard away. Let's go for it. They get stopped at the 1 yard line, stopped a few inches short. Some people thought maybe he was in. Referees thought he wasn't. And so he's out by inches. Augustana answers with a 99-yard touchdown drive that carried into the 4th quarter. And that was the biggest strip play that changed the whole thing. Instead of going down 25 points, now it's still an 18-point game. Augustana drives down, gets touchdown in the conversion, and now it's a 10-point game. It was a gigantic swing. That's a 15-point swing. Could have been a 35-point game, 25-point game, Instead, it's a 10-point game, a giant swing of events. And then late in the game, USF has a 4th and 1 in plus territory. All they have to do is convert. There's a little over 2 minutes left. If they convert, Augustana's out of timeouts. This thing is over. And they get stuck. They get stuck. They get stuffed. They don't get it. And at the end of the day, Augustana makes those 2 defensive stops. At the same time, they get white hot on offense, and they make an impressive comeback. And so it's a true testament to how good Augustana is, how deep their program is, right, to be able to win with all the injuries they had on offense. But a gut-wrenching loss for USF, who was in position to get the key back, to snap a 2-game losing skid, and now they've lost 3 in a row. So a back-breaking loss in a great game. Hopefully you watched it on KELOLAND.com, KELOLAND Plus, or Kelo Extra. If you didn't, you can go find it on our website. It was a thriller, and I'd say watch the whole thing. It was a good game throughout. The fourth quarter was tremendous. If you want to just fast forward it to then, go ahead. Fourth quarter was about as high intensity as it comes, and those rivalry games, they just never disappoint. Well, turning to Division I FCS action, SDSU, man, they had their backs against the wall there for a little bit. They found themselves down 14-0 in Youngstown, Ohio, to the Penguins, and then they got the gap down to 14-7. It was eventually 17-7 at halftime, and the third quarter was the difference. SDSU came out in the second half, scored 21 third-quarter points, including 3 Julius Loffridge touchdowns, and it went from 17-7 to 28-17. SDSU actually outscored in the fourth quarter, but still went on to win 35-30. They really just turned the game on their head in that third quarter specifically, and that's what good teams do, right? They realize, hey, we didn't play our great first half. Let's turn the page. They certainly turned the page in the second half and got things righted and ended up winning the game. Even though a lot of things were pretty even, they rushed for 211 yards, and they found a way to get it done, winning on the road, tough in the conference. Dan Jackson talked with the media afterwards.
When adversity strikes, we don't flinch. The guys love each other. You see those in big moments, and I loved how we finished the game, being able to just run power right at them, which is a Jackrabbit staple. So that was a lot of fun to be able to wear them down. And when you have a great program and a great culture, the players just believe the whole time.
They just believe the whole time, and that doesn't surprise me. It is what they have made of a team here in Brookings and this year's team. And for them to find a way to get it done, sometimes winning on the road is near impossible. I wouldn't say impossible, but it's very tough. And for SDSU, they proved it right here. Youngstown State, a ranked opponent, and it came right down to the wire as SDSU pulls out the 5-point win. And we'll finish up talking in our first part of today's show. FCS USD back in the win column. Man, they played the Dakota Days game. They played a struggling Murray State team. They did. Now 0-5 on the year is Murray State, but USD made sure there was no doubt in anyone's mind that they can get back to what they do best, which is dominating time of possession and running the football. When you take a look at those two categories, USD rushed for 380 yards, 280 more than Murray State. When you look at the time of possession, USD won that, if we can find that here, 33-24 to 26-36. So you're really looking at about a 7-minute swing there. So yeah, they dominated that all over the place. LJ Phillips rushed for 244 yards and 4 touchdowns. He was fantastic. And Aiden Bauman, his quarterback, talked with us after the game.
We did a tremendous job this week in preparation of figuring out where our strengths and weaknesses were, this entire year. And, kudos to our entire offensive staff, getting us in a really advantageous situation this week. And, at the end of the day, it's just guys out there making plays.
It was just guys out there making plays is what he said, and that's what it was. They rolled to a 14-7 lead at the end of the first. At that point, it was 14-0 within 8 minutes of the game by USD. Great start. Murray State answered with a nice 80-yard, 3-minute drive, and then the second quarter blew them out. 2 LJ Phillips touchdowns, a Zach Whitty receiving touchdown, and just like that, 35-7 at the break, and they kind of just coasted from there. Murray State scored 17 points second half, tried to make the gap look better, but at the end of the day, just couldn't keep up with USD, who looked really good, got back in the win column for the Oats, and that's a solid win for them. It really is. Now they go to Indiana State. I think a team that they could have success against. They got a couple of decently tough ones. They're at Northern Iowa here in 2 weeks, hosting a good Illinois State team here in 3 weeks. Then North Dakota. We always know that any team from South Dakota, North Dakota is a challenge. And then South Dakota State behind that. So this will be a really telling stretch for the Coyotes as to what they're going to be able to do if they can keep in the run for the playoffs. They're certainly still in that. No question about that. Well, we'll step aside. When we come back, we're going to continue our college football conversation and talk about a local name who got himself into the end zone this week for Ohio State. We'll have that when we come back to SportsZone All Access. Welcome back to SportsZone All Access here on this Monday, October the 6th. And continuing our conversation in college football, we talked about the key to the city and SDSU and USD. Now we continue on down with Northern State as the Wolves have been on quite the run lately. Blew out Wayne State at home, blew out Concordia St. Paul at home, went to UMary and blew them out. Not the same this week. The first win of the season for Bemidji State as they knock off Northern State 24-21. The final, you saw a Hail Mary there from Brock Bagazi at the half that made it 7-7. Northern State would take the lead with a touchdown by Trey Birdsong in the fourth, 14-10. Then the two teams just went back and forth. Bemidji scored a touchdown, took the lead, and then right back came Northern State. Bemidji again. That gave them a 10-point lead with 1:47 to play, and Northern State just not enough time to get the ball back. And unfortunately, a loss for them, and a tough loss for them. You know, they were playing really good. They were 3-1. They'd blown out the last three opponents. Their only loss was to USF, and now they have to play their toughest game of the season. They have number 10 Minnesota Duluth at home this Saturday night, and they have to do it coming off a loss. And for them, with already two losses, you don't want a third. If you stay at that 2-loss number, you like your odds of getting into the playoffs. They're going to have a tough road ahead of them. They got Augustana on the schedule as well. And then we wrap it up by talking about the Ohio State Buckeyes. Yeah, we don't get to talk about them very often, but former peer standout, one of the best quarterbacks to ever play high school football in the state of South Dakota, Lincoln Keenholz, got some playing time for the Buckeyes. They were rolling big, up big. They won 42-3 over Minnesota, and so late in the game, they let Lincoln Keenholz get some action. He went 1 for 1 passing for 15 yards, had 3 carries for 5 yards, including that 1-yard quarterback plunge that you just saw right there. Always cool to see Lincoln Keenholz get some action and follow that big offensive line into the end zone for the touchdown. So congratulations to him and the Buckeyes, who got a nice win, and then for him specifically to get himself into the end zone. Well, we mentioned it earlier. We've got a one-on-one sit-down interview with Augustana hockey head coach Garrett Raboin when we come back to SportsZone All Access. And welcome back to SportsZone All Access. Grant Sweeter in here today on this Monday, October the 6th. And Augustana hockey went 18-13-4 last year. They are the second seed in the CCHA Mason Cup quarterfinals, but lost in the best-of-3 game series against Bemidji State, losing that 2-1. And now they've got a lot of expectations, a lot of excitement as they go into year 3 with their first full season of conference play. We caught up with Coach Garrett Raboin, and we'll have that conversation with you from Augustana Media Day now. Coach Garrett Raboin joins us now here at Midco Arena. And Coach, first of all, year 3 now. It's kind of crazy to look back how fast the first 2 years went, but how successful they went as well when you talk about growing a program and growing a fan base with it.
Yeah, and I think it was. We've been really fortunate here. We walked into a brand new arena halfway through our first season, but the support of the community has been there. I think there was a plan, so when our guys arrived on campus, that first team, they had a chance. A credit to them. Both year 1 and year 2 teams were extremely relentless. They were competitive. We had timely scoring, we had depth scoring, we had solid goaltending. There was a lot of things, like when you look back on those first 2 seasons and our start, it was extremely impressive for those following the program. I think when you're inside of the program, though, we were really blessed to have a lot of things that our guys just took advantage of and were able to execute and earn some real big moments.
And for you guys, I think the coolest thing to look back on is how quickly you guys were able to have some success, which is awesome, but then also to build that fan base too. I mean, I thought it was impressive how quickly Sioux Falls embraced college hockey.
Yeah, and that's something you hear in the interview process when you're considering taking a job like this. You move to town, people talk about how it's going to be a hit, the excitement that's there, and then once you're in it, and it's all real. And this community and the university's delivered on every front in terms of our men's hockey program and support around our student athletes. It's been exciting, a great run in the first 2 seasons, but here we are in year 3, and it's a new day, it's a new team, and it's going to be exciting as we start our journey here.
Well, and we saw what happened in year 1. You guys were kind of just feeling yourselves out, feeling out the conference. Year 2, you get the early acceptance, and all of a sudden, you guys are right towards the top of the conference. How do we see year 3 continuing that trend now with a full conference slate for the first time?
And that's what you hope to continue that trend. We've been really fortunate. The points percentage clearly worked in our favor. It could have, as much as it could have been a disadvantage, we used it to our advantage. Guys earned that position in home ice in the first round of playoffs. We played a non-conference schedule for the most part, which is kind of fun. No one's really familiar with you. You're just excited in every new venue you're playing at. This is the first time we're going to experience a true season of league play. If we knock someone off, they get a rebuttal, and vice versa. This is truly what college athletics is all about. It's really exciting. It's not easy. You talk about the grind of the CCHA. We haven't really felt the grind of the CCHA. So it's our first go-around, but we have to carry with us a mentality that's given us a chance and provided us with some early success, and that's just controlling what we can control. We have to continue to work and believe that if we take care of ourselves, that the result will follow. Really cliche to say, but it's just our group, and it's something that's been working, and why change?
Well, and you talk about the tough conference schedule. You got some tough non-conference games in there too, like an Arizona State coming to town. It sounds like it'll be a full stretch and a good test for you guys here in year number 3.
And it's going to come early and often. All of our non-conference games are against NCHC opponents. If you look, and it's no secret, if you look at the NCHC, the success, the national championships that they've acquired over the last handful of years, the NCHC is a monster. In that, there's something to be said of playing opponents that are in that league is preparing teams to compete for national championships. Our guys have to live through that. They have to invite the competition, and there's going to be growth through it. As tough as the stretch is to start, I just think, wow, what an opportunity for growth. And we're going to learn a lot about our guys and hopefully prepares us for league play.
All right, let's talk about the guys a little bit. One that I was looking through the roster, saw back, Josh Kotai back. And what he did last year was incredible. But now he's a junior, right? We haven't even seen him play upper class hockey yet.
Yeah, and you're going to see he's as old as they get on our campus. Okay, we're all here for year 3. No one's been here longer. And it's exciting for him because I think there's a challenge in that. There's no secrets. There's been people that have doing video on him. There's a book on him. How do you get it past Josh Kotai? Well, teams are going to have a little bit more information. He's going to have the excitement of teams coming to Midco Arena or seeing him on the road. Challenge accepted. That's what others are going to see. And for him, he strives to be a pro. He loves this university like crazy and his teammates. But for him to grow his game, he's going to have to build off of what he did last year. And what a great challenge, and something I know that he's prepared himself for through the summer.
Defensively, he had some good help last year, which is what made it easier for him. But you also graduated a few of those guys too. They were mentioning that you got some new defensemen in as well. How's that group going to look this year?
Well, we hope that they're able to learn from those that have been around before, and we do. We have some guys returning who have played in some pretty significant roles. That being said, we lost 3 defensemen who played a lot of minutes for us. 5th-year guys that had been around college hockey for a long time. Now, this is the natural turnover of college athletics. There's guys that have to rise in roles. Those minutes are going to have to be allocated to some different names and numbers. But we're hopeful that these guys in time can fill those slots, and hopefully they add the same value and maybe more.
Same question offensively. You got a few forwards back that should be able to lead that group.
Yeah, and you're seeing with the announcement of our 3 captains, our leadership group, they're all homegrown kids. We're excited about that. They're, 2 juniors and a redshirt junior. So there's that's a new leadership group, but we're looking forward to the change. And we've been really fortunate to have some tremendous leaders. And up front, too, you see guys that have played on power plays. They've played on penalty kills. There's been a lot of opportunity that guys have been offered up till this point. But again, if we want to continue to grow, I think that we need to have those guys that have played in those critical roles elevate their game. It's not a totally different team. It's just slightly different. It's a modified group, but there's a lot of familiar faces. But if we want to take a step, these guys have got to show through their production and through their effort that they're ready for it.
Last one. I don't know how coaches put their goals or expectations out there, but what is the goal or the expectation in year number 3 for Augie hockey?
Well, we've been really short-sighted in the first 2 seasons, and it's been simply putting our best foot forward every day and working to get better, and you never know where the results follow. Some things are out of your control. What's in our control is what we've pressed on the most, and I think that's something that's been working. And you spend a whole off season with this group. How do you change? What do you do? How's the messaging look different? It's slightly different, but I think there's one thing that's a constant, and that's our group. How they come together, how they prepare through the week, and there's been a belief in our process, and I think that if they can just stick together and lean into some things that have worked up till this point, that there will be similar results.
Perfect. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
And that was Coach Garrett Raboin, and we thank him for sitting down and talking with us. We have plenty more coming up on the Augustana hockey team later this week. But that'll do it for our show today. Got good stuff coming up tonight on KELOLAND Sports at 6 and 10. We'll recap the Key to the City game, which we already talked about was a crazy game. And then we'll also talk state tennis and state golf. Boys state golf, AA and A, underway today in Rapid City and Vermilion. Girls state tennis beginning in Class A in Sioux Falls. We'll have highlights and stories coming up tonight on KELOLAND News at 6 and 10. Well, that'll do it for us. Thanks for tuning in to SportsZone All Access. We'll see you back here on Tuesday.